Hello, friends and family, and welcome back to our channel. Today, we will continue our discussions within the Mental Health Is series, but we're going to be focusing on how environment can impact our mental health. If you're interested in the content, stay tuned. And if you're ready, my brothers and sisters, let's get into it. Welcome back to Choosing to Live Now. My name is Taneshia, and I want to thank you so much for joining our conversation today. Let us begin our discussion with a recap of the definition of mental health that has been given to us by the World Health Organization. According to the World Health Organization, mental health is the ability to be able to think. Mental health is the ability to be aware of what we think. Mental health is the ability to manage normal life stressors in a healthy way. And mental health is the ability for us to manage our own behaviors. That, my brothers and sisters, is mental health. And in our last discussion, we talked about the idea that there are 4 determinants or risk or even threats to our mental health. And they are individual threats, which we learned in our last discussion. The next thing we talked about was that there would be environmental threats, social threats, and economic threats. Today, my brothers and sisters, we're going to be talking about environmental determinants or threats to our mental health. Now, when we're thinking about environment, it is very common that you and I immediately think about what environments that we live in. So when we think about environments that we live in, what are some common things that we think about? We think about if our neighborhood is safety, like if there's violence. We think about if there are resources in our neighborhood. We think about if there are good schools, if we are parents in that neighborhood. When we think about an environment, we might think about the idea that, we might prefer to live in a city versus a rural area because the city might be connected to more job opportunities, or it might be connected to public transportation. Whatever the case may be, when we think of environment, the first place it is normal for us to think about is our living arrangement. And my brothers and sisters, you are absolutely correct. The World Health Organization really talks about environment as it relates to those things. And they talk about safety as well. But they talk about safety, not just an environmental safety as it relates to if we are safe from, outside threats in our community. But another thing that they talk about in terms of safety is, are you safe to practice what you believe? Whatever your religion is, whatever your belief systems are about raising children, starting a business, having a family, living in life, and doing the things that are important to you, does the environment that you are in, is it safe for you to practice those things? And you might be saying, if you're in a nation that believes in freedom of speech and expression, that, Tanisha, what are you talking about? We have the freedom to do this and that and the other. That might be true, my brothers and sisters, but around the world, freedom is relative. And everyone is free according to what their environment says are free. The policies in that environment dictate what role a woman can have, a mother can have, a man can have, a child can have. And so it is really important when we think about mental health that we take those things into consideration. Because just because someone is from a different cultural background and country from you that may have restrictions in certain areas, it doesn't mean that their mental health is not healthy. Because what is normal for you in your world, in your environment, is going to be the norm. Anything outside of that norm would mess with your mental health. So when we're thinking about our environmental influence, being able to practice what you believe is one, right? Another thing that's important to think about is, does your environment have access to basic needs and necessities? Like access to clean water? Yeah. Like access to affordable housing? Yeah. Like access to crops and agriculture for you to be able to buy food and have the things that you need. And if you are not able to buy food, are the supplies available for you to grow your own food and to be able to survive? Yeah. Why? Why, Taneshia, are those things important? Those things are important because when your environment is not safe, the first thing that can happen in your life is the occurrence of anxiety because you don't have all of the things in your environment that you need. This is beyond social economics, my brothers and sisters. This is talking about, is these things available if I have the money and the resources? Yeah. And what we don't realize is that sometimes our environments are depleted of the things that we need, and it causes our mental health to decline. And guess what, friends? Did you know that this is backed up in research? Yeah. If you look at research around the world, there are so many countries that do not have access to clean drinking water. And as a result of that, these communities suffer from higher levels of anxiety and depression symptomology related to the threat of not having clean water. Now, if you live in the western part of the world right now and you're watching me and you are used to having access to gasoline and the prices to be reasonable, look at what's been happening in the news right now. Gas prices are skyrocketing and people are becoming extremely anxious. Some even depressed because of how much extra money they're having to spend to survive. Their income is not increasing, but the needs to live are increasing. These things that we're experiencing now, if they do not stop or regulate, are considered environmental threats that can impact our mental health, my brothers and my sisters. So you might be saying, what are you saying, Taneshia? What is the point? The point, my brothers and sisters, is this. When we think about mental health, it is important to understand that while we can control what we can control, there are elements in our life that we cannot control. And environmental threats are bigger than economic threats, meaning you cannot go to school, get an extra degree, to get an extra certification to make your environment have more resources. Either policies have to be changed in your favor, or you have to find a new environment to live. Yeah. And for individuals who do not have the ability to leave those environments that are causing them levels of stress, they might have difficulties with their mental health if the stress is persistent over a long period of time, my brothers and my sisters. Yeah. So now that we have a clear understanding of global environment, can I take you to another environment that could be impacting your mental health? You ready for it? Your job. I know, my brothers and my sisters. We kind of touched on this before, but while we're in environment and while we're taking a slower, deeper dive into what an environment is that could cause an impact of negative reactivity to our mental health, let's talk about our work environment. Does your work environment have the basic needs that you have, my brothers and sisters? Does it pay enough for you to be able to meet your bills every time you get paid? Number one. Number two, does the environment have the type of community setting amongst the employees and accessibility to leadership that you need in order for you to do your best work. Yeah. Is your job environment considerate of your life and the fact that you have a family and needs outside of the job, where they have flexibility with you when you need to grab a child from school, when you need to go to the doctor and take a day off because you're not feeling well? Do they help you to manage your stress well, or do they add to your stress? Hey, my brothers and sisters, if you find that this environment that you work in does not meet your needs, the basic needs that you have as an employee to work there with the right attitude and move, guess what, my brothers and sisters? Your mental health can be negatively impacted by that environment. Can I help you with something else? It's not normal to go home thinking about work every day. It's not normal to not be able to disconnect from work. Yeah, in order for you to be able to just go home and be what you need to be in your family. It's not normal to be in an environment that does not value your mental health and does not allow you to go to the doctor and take the much necessary or much needed time you need to get yourself together to be yourself, the best person that you need to be. It is not normal to be in an environment where you are spoken to in a way that makes you feel demeaned, my brothers and my sisters. It's not normal for you to be in an environment that makes you question all of the hard work that you've done to be who you are. It's not normal. It's not normal to have to go to work every day fighting other people's attitudes and moods that you work with. If you work in a public service sort of a role as a doctor or a nurse, that comes with the territory, and you've been trained to work with people's attitudes that you have to support. But if the staff, if the leadership that you work with do not support you in being your best self, my brothers and sisters, that is not normal, and it's toxic, and it's negative to your overall mental health. So if you are a person with mental health, positive mental health, as described by the World Health Organization, you should be able to handle these stressful situations that come in your environments pretty, normal stressors with ease. But what we don't deal with is the idea that when stressors continue to pile up on our plate and we continue to feel demeaned or have our needs not being met, what occurs for us is that we begin to have a decline in areas of our life that make us be able to operate in our highest level of productivity. For example, if you are demeaned by a coworker or a supervisor over and over again, if you are criticized in your work that you've done, that you cannot do certain things, you might suffer from low self-esteem over time. And that low self-esteem could also then make you have lower self-efficacy, meaning you don't believe that you can do the new tasks that they're giving you because the old ones you've been told you weren't good enough in, so you don't trust that you're any good anymore. And then it might impact your motivation for work, which then might ultimately cause you to have some level of anxiety, which stops you from being able to work and be your best self. So as you can see, Toxic environments, whether they be your national environment, your local environment, or your work environment, are dangerous to be in long term because your mental health will decline because of them. And I want to be clear with you, my brothers and sisters, these environmental issues are not your fault. And I need you to be kind to yourself. Yeah, I know you prayed for that job. I know you prayed for that opportunity. And maybe it was everything that you wanted it to be. But maybe you have overstayed your welcome where you are, and you may need to consider doing something different, if for no other reason but to preserve your mental health. Yeah. Now, if you take this information and add to it what we talked about in our last discussion, where there are biological and genetic factors that impact our mental health overall, where we could have a tendency to have a weakness in certain areas of our mental health related to what we've inherited or related to things that we developed or received from our mother in our fetal maturation period. So we come into the earth realm with those things being weaker. Being in an environment that is toxic, whether it be your community, your nation, or your job, could make you that much more, your mental health that much more unstable when you go through continued stressors in your environment. Yeah. So I think that we need to really work on, as a people, you and I, being kind to the people around us, because we do not know the full extent of what's working in them and what's around them that they have not articulated or we cannot see. Because the worst thing in the world is to be around passive aggressive people who act like they are not aggressive in any way. But my brothers and sisters, they are the epitome of what aggression is. Yup. And they cause a person's life to be very difficult because they are passively being rude and aggressive and inappropriate in an environment, especially work. Can I give you one more environment? Yeah. One more and then I'm done. Home life. Yep. With your family. I know we talked about this. But I want to say that while we're talking about how the environment can impact our mental health, that we can be in families that we live with, we can be in communities, all types of communities that we associate with in our environment on a regular basis. That could be bad for our mental health. And it's important for you to know that these are the environment's issues, they're not yours. So often we take on things that don't belong to us. But my brothers and sisters, if it's the environment, it's not you. Your responsibility is to then find ways to navigate those environments in a healthy way. Yep. So one way you might do that is to speak up, stand up for yourself. Talk to the environment, particularly if it's work or your family, or some sort of community that you have to work in that's within your environment. You might want to stand up for yourself, advocate for things to change. If you live in a country where there is an opportunity for you to vote, vote. Vote for leaders who can give you the support that you need in your community so that everyone is impacted in a healthy way, not just you. Other things that you might want to do if there are environmental threats to your mental health is consider finding other environments that are better for you if that's an option. Yeah. Sometimes we overstay our welcome when we can leave places sooner. We don't, because we're so loyal. Consider leaving the environment if you can. And if you can't, my brothers and sisters, number 4 is this. Remember to disconnect yourself from the environment. That means the things in the environment that are going on that do not give you your needs, that do not give you your that do not meet your needs, that have policies that may be against what you believe in. It's not you. You're not the problem. The environment is. Remember to keep your mind in the proper place, understanding that you can only change what you can change. And even in an environment that you do not prefer, that you cannot leave, it does not mean that you cannot find joy and peace in that environment. And I encourage you to find ways to find enjoyment even in situations within your environment that are not easy to change right away. Yeah. All right, my brothers and sisters, that's it for the conversation today. I want to thank you so much for listening to this discussion. Listen, if you like the content on this channel, please like, please share, please comment, and please subscribe. All right, my brothers and sisters, remember this, you are not alone. I am here with you. This is a community and a safe space. We're going to get through this together if we don't give up. And remember, environmental threats to your mental health are not your fault. It is the environment. And let's find ways to navigate it, even if we have to leave the environment. And if we can't leave the environment, let's work on changing our mind to navigate that environment more efficiently. Okay, my brothers and sisters, until next time, blessings to you today, my friends.
Just in case you weren't sure.